Russell Wilson was officially cut by the Denver Broncos, and they are eating up approximately $89 million in cap space over the next 2 years in dead cap. First thing everyone was saying was he's going to Pittsburgh. I saw a few people thinking he's going to Minnesota, but a lot of people are saying he's going to Pittsburgh. And Jerry Dulac said that he is meeting with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this comes after the Steelers GM Omar Khan, and correct me if I'm wrong, said they're going with Kenny Pickett. They have full confidence in Kenny Pickett, but now it seems maybe Russell Wilson on the veteran minimum isn't so bad.
The thing is, when it comes to this situation, they are still going to have Kenny Pickett start.
Okay.
More than likely. I think their idea is that with Russell Wilson being able to, with Russell Wilson being like, oh yeah, I'm going to take the league minimum because I'm getting paid $40-50 million a year from Denver for the next 2 seasons. I'll take the league minimum. The Steelers are probably like, oh yeah, we can put Russell Wilson in on the league minimum and maybe have him start. If not, have Kenny Pickett start and have him be mentored by Russell Wilson, which I think is strange in a way, just because Russell Wilson is an interesting type of quarterback. He has definitely a very interesting attitude and a mentality, which is not a terrible thing, but depending on what aspect of the media you've looked at, where some people have said that he is like a cancer in the locker room, like, would you want to have somebody like that would you want somebody to influence Kenny Pickett to be that guy? Or will he not bring on those traits and just be an influence to Kenny Pickett to get him to the next level, if Kenny Pickett is to ever go to that next level? But I think the problem is for me, I don't think Russell Wilson is the best option, but I think he is the cheapest option. At the time, whenever I made the video, I put Russell Wilson, I believe, at 6 or 5. Mm-hmm. He was down at the bottom out of the 8 quarterbacks we were linked to. And the reason I did that was because I didn't initially know how much money he was going to be willing to take. I figured he would probably want something maybe a little lower than what Denver had given him, and then he would be making starter money plus the money he was making in Denver, which I thought would be absolutely insane. But since he is willing to take the league minimum, I think for financial reasons, I think it wouldn't be the worst move in the world. However, we do need a quarterback, so we're going to have to get a quarterback one way or another. It's just a matter of like who we're going to sign in our depth chart. I think it's a little strange to do it. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. It's just, there's just this feeling inside of me that it's gonna be just Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, and Rudolph again. So it's basically just booting Mitch and putting in Russ. Like, I just feel like it's so random. It's possible. If Mason also wants a fresh start, then we'll probably just draft like some random 4th, 5th round quarterback, which honestly at this point I wouldn't even be surprised if it's BYU legend Keaton Slovis, who used to play at Pitt. Apparently he had the fastest quarterback run during the combine. I don't even know if you heard about that or not, but this quarterback Keaton Slovis from BYU had like an insane 40-yard dash for a freaking quarterback, which I don't know, but that's what people have been telling me, because people were like, why wasn't he like this at Pitt?
So you're keeping Kenny as the starter, right? Bringing in Russell Wilson, presumably, you're putting him at backup, and then signing or bringing back Mason Rudolph or drafting someone. Is there concern then in your mind about a division in the locker room if the offense is stagnant again like it was last offseason? You're bringing in a new offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith, who likes to run the ball. He's run heavy. And that's why a lot of people have linked Russell Wilson to the Steelers, because they've said he won't have to do as much because they're just going to pound the rock with Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, who Najee's going to be looking for a payout here. He's on his 5th-year option. But what if you become stagnant? Are you worried you have that division that was allegedly there last season, and players start saying, hey, let's put in Russell Wilson. We know who he is. He's won a Super Bowl. Why is Kenny still out there?
So you are so with I don't know. I mean, I feel like with Kenny Pickett, when it comes to the division in the locker room, I don't I'm not really too concerned about there being a division right now because as with any season, you just kind of take it with a grain of salt because 95% of the time you don't know if there's going to be a division or if everybody's just going to rise up and play like they're the greatest team chemistry ever. I mean, we see this in some of the greatest sports teams and some of the worst sports teams. It's not something I'm worried about as a Steelers fan. It doesn't really affect me. I think we have a new coordinator. I mean, if Mike Tomlin actually has all this credit that he is getting about keeping all of these players, like under control, more or less. Like if it's AB, he's keeping under control. If these are actual people that actually have like really bad issues and he's able to keep them under control, that's great. That's phenomenal. And if he's going to keep doing that and, still build 10-7 seasons, I mean, it's mediocre, but I mean, whatever, I guess. I mean, couldn't be worse than the Pirates. But like, nonetheless, I'm not really worried about it. I think if there is a situation, I'm assuming Kenny Pickett will get hurt this season because he always gets hurt. And I'm sure Russell Wilson, if he was to go in, would go in. And I think it would be a similar situation to how we had to deal with last year, where I think Russell Wilson may do a lot better than Kenny and he'll get benched. I mean, there's always that possibility. I don't think that they should be really continuously pushing Kenny. I think they're pulling a Jets moment right now, where they're just pushing Zach Wilson, or how they were pushing Zach Wilson for a while, and just being like, oh, he still has potential. He can do it. He will do it. He's gonna do it. And then he just never reached it, and then would have those. I think it's gonna be what Kenny Pickett is. I think the Steelers are trying, and I mean there is that possibility that he does reach that level, but I don't think that they know how to develop quarterbacks right now. I think they need to find somebody that can. I'm not saying Arthur Smith can't, because Arthur Smith definitely could help in developing the quarterback room. However, I don't know if he is going to be the answer for Kenny Pickett, because I don't know if there is an answer for Kenny Pickett currently. But I don't think there'll be a division. No, I don't. I think it'll be a different locker room. So
Okay. Where does Russell Wilson move on your 8 rankings with him taking the vet minimum? Like, how excited are you for Russell Wilson to possibly be Pittsburgh Steeler?
I gotta look at my list real quick here.
I mean, like, would you want him more than Ryan Tannehill?
Well, he was. I mean, it depends, because the thing is these were based on starters, and
Okay.
so this was based on who I think should start, based on the eight people and it went Mason Rudolph at 1, Kirk Cousins at 2, Justin Fields at 3, Kenny Pickett at 4, Ryan Tannehill at 5, Russ at 6, Mac at 7, Desmond Ridder at 8. I would probably bump him up to. I would probably put him where Kirk is, but also switch. So I'd probably put him at like 3. I would say, just because 1.2 is really insane to sign a quarterback of his magnitude, because he's still good. It's not like he's a bad quarterback. He had a bad 2022 season, but last season he actually like cooked a little bit. So, and the only reason they benched him was because Denver Broncos organization is idiotic. But they benched him because instead of making playoffs, they instead of caring about their fan base, they cared more about the money, and that's why I'm not a big fan of the Broncos organization. So I would never. I don't think I would be a big fan of seeing them succeed this year personally. After that, because I don't think Russell Wilson. I don't think the fans deserve that. I don't think the fans deserve that, especially since they were actually like hot at that moment. But I would probably put him at like probably 3, and because I can't really see Kirk Cousins leaving Minnesota. I just don't see that happening. I don't see the Steelers signing Kirk Cousins to that big of a deal. So I think Kirk Cousins is probably going to fall down my list just because if Russ is going to take 1.2, or we could get Justin Fields in a trade for like, a low round pick, even though they want like a third or a fourth round pick for him, which I think is, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but we'll see. I don't even know. I don't even know anymore with Justin Fields. Is he even being offered in a trade? That's what I mean. Like, all of this is just rumors. I'm tired of Pittsburgh just being a bunch of rumor mills. Like for NHL's sake right now, like, I know we're not an NHL podcast, but the only thing I've heard about in Pittsburgh is, the rumors of every quarterback ever in the history of the NFL going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or where is Jake Gensel going to go? He's going to go to every contending Stanley Cup team, and he's going to get traded by tomorrow at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whenever the deadline is. And I'm annoyed with all these rumors. I just want things to happen. I'm tired of hearing about the rumors. I'm just really annoyed with it. I'm kind of sick of it at this point. Because is Justin Fields even an option now? Is it all Russ now since they're meeting? I read a tweet that they said that Bo Nix, they met with Bo Nix. Like, they didn't meet like one-on-one entirely, but it was like a informal meeting at the combine with Bo Nix. I'm like, so we're going to draft Bo Nix now. So are we just like a favorite for every quarterback? Like, I just don't get it. Heck, we might as well get Michael Penix and, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. We should just draft all of them. Just screw it. You know what? Put some on our, like, practice squad or something.
Silverwolf commented on your video and linked Kyler Murray to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So,
I think that would come out of left field. I didn't even think of that. It would probably be like not the worst possibility in the world. But the problem that I have with it is it's just like another quarterback added to this giant carousel thing. So, it's one of those things where it's like, you gotta they're meeting with Russ. They'll figure it out, because if Russ wants to start, they're not going to want to start Russ in the Steelers. I think they're going to want to keep pushing Kenny. And the problem is like a lot of these quarterbacks aren't going to want to be backups. The only one that'll probably be okay with being a backup would probably be like Rudolph.
Who would you rather start? If you're who would you rather start? Because you're a big Kenny homer. Would you rather Russ start or Kenny start? Kenny's your dude.
I would want to see what he does, Kenny Pickett.
That was such a... You just like gave the softest neutral answer you could. Are you saying like week 1 Kenny would be the starter but he'd be on thin ice?
Yeah, because the thing is the reason that I would have him start, and the reason that everybody, like, because I know people are gonna think this is a bad idea, is the problem is yes, Kenny Pickett has not been the guy, or at least last season he was not the guy. He is definitely not good stat wise. However, he only played one game without Matt Canada. And the second game he got hurt. So I don't really know what his potential is when it comes to working under somebody that isn't Matt Canada. Obviously, the Bengals defense it wasn't the hottest last year, especially against Pittsburgh. Both games we put up over 400 yards. And that first game was like a 400. It was like our first game where we broke 400 yards in like 3 or 4 years or whatever it was. It was an insane stat. It was insane. Like the last time we had done it was against Denver in 2020. It was the last time we had 400 yards of offense. So, and Kenny Pickett was the quarterback. Granted, we won like 16-10. It wasn't that good of a win. It wasn't anything special.
And
but then,
both games were against Jake Browning too.
Yes, but still 400 yards of offense, and then
the offense, yes, but the defense didn't have to do much. But your offense killed our defense.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm not talking about my defense on Jake Browning. I don't care about that at all.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
It has to do with Kenny Pickett This is about Kenny Pickett.
This is about Kenny
And-
Pickett.
Yeah. So, and Kenny Pickett like did the 400 yards. I don't remember if he had a touchdown. I don't in that game. I can go back and look.
I think he did.
So let me go back and look. Because the problem with this is that what league did I have him in?
Well, here, I'll just look up Kenny Pickett's stats.
It's so much easier to just do it on fantasy football. I got it. So he had no passing touchdowns or rushing touchdowns against Cincinnati. He had two after 1 week after the Cleveland Browns game where he put up 106 yards and no touchdowns, no interceptions. For the Cincinnati game, he put up 278 yards passing. No touchdowns, no interceptions or anything. So, granted, he didn't throw anything, but the fact that he almost had 300 yards passing showed a little bit of promise. And in that Arizona game, he had like 70 yards because he had like one big long bomb, and then he went in for a QB sneak and then got concussed, and then Mitch went in and lost the game. But I would want to see what he would do with Arthur Smith. If he doesn't do well with Arthur Smith, then yeah, I would put in Russ. But I think it would be a situation of how it was in 2022, where it's like it's instead of the veteran getting ousted by the rookie, it would be the youngin getting ousted by the vet. Because Mitch was in for like 4 or 5 weeks and he just stunk. And they put him in mid-game, Kenny Pickett mid-game, and they were like, "This is our guy," and that's who they ran with. They benched Mitch, and I think that's what's going to happen with Kenny. It's going to be like Kenny. It's going to be Kenny, and if Kenny doesn't, shape up, and they go like 1-3 or 2-2 or something, and it's like bad games, bad wins or whatever, they put in Russ mid-game. I think that's probably would be how it would happen. But personally, I still think Mason Rudolph would be the better option. But I don't know. That's just me.
Well, to get some context here as far as what PFF says, let me pull up Mason.
I hate PFF too.
I love
by the
PFF.
way.
It's not the end all be all, but I think they do a pretty good job.
PFF.
What
I was going to say about the PFF grade, I think that they have some of the most random things that correlate for offense and defense in all of your awards. So I think that the NFL needs to figure out what they actually want to count as something real and not, this guy had more double teams, therefore he is Defensive Player of the Year. And yes, I am mad that TJ Watt didn't win Defensive Player of the Year. I think it is ridiculous, to be completely honest. And I honestly have not really been keeping up with the NFL since Super Bowl, just because this season has been probably one of the worst. Well, this has probably been one of the worst seasons that I've watched. The only thing that I've enjoyed about this season was probably the fact that I won in fantasy football, and the Lions making such a great run just to frickin' lose to San Francisco. See, that's what I mean. Like it was a depressing season for me, and I did not enjoy it.
To give you a benchmark, Jake Browning is a 79.3 overall on PFF. Next is Russell Wilson, 77.5. Kenny Pickett is 70.6, and then Mason Rudolph is a 65.5 overall. So
that's based off of
yeah, Mason's sample size isn't great, but
yeah, you're basing it off of 3 games in a playoff game, probably.
Right. Mason's should probably be better, but others I think are pretty accurate.
Yeah, he just looked really good. Like literally, he looked great against Cincinnati. He had us win against Seattle for the first time since the 80s, and then we beat Baltimore in the rain. That game was ridiculous, and then we lost to Buffalo. Granted, I think we could have done a little bit more, but the Steelers have just been struggling in the first quarter in the playoffs for the last 4 or 5 years. So I don't really understand what's happening with that, but I think that's something that management needs to figure out.
Mason's rushing ability is also pulling him down. Everyone else has a higher rushing than him.
Well, yeah, I mean, Mason was never a rushing quarterback. It was always Kenny Pickett was known for rushing a lot. I mean, fake slide was the whole thing. He ran like 70 yards down the field, or however far it was. I don't remember at this point. But.
So, well, that's what we've got there for Pittsburgh.